Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah. Hi. Hi. My name is Ju Eric Lee. I work for DMH at Peer Resource Center. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and work in the mental health field probably since like 2003. I began my career as a housing case manager and then transitioned into vocational rehab counselor. Then I kind of coordinated a wellness center at the DMH contracted agency, and later on got my clinical degree and started working as a FSP, full service partnership clinician and team leader. And also it was at one of the LA County contracted agency, and I have done that for about 10 years. And later on, I also work at the emergency room, working as a psychiatric evaluator. And then in 2016, I transitioned to LA County DMH as a mental health service coordinator too. And I have been a team member coordinating wellness outreach worker volunteers program. We call that WOW. Basically that trains and cultivates DMH volunteers with lived experience helping out at DMH clinics and wellness centers. Right now, I'm currently a current supervisor at DMH Peer Resource Center, and Peer Resource Center has one community health worker, for mental health advocates. At PRC, I'm on the journey of connecting clinical, peer support, and leadership experience to address like current challenges in mental health services. And I want to introduce my co-presenter. Her name is Laura. I call her Lori, and I want her to, actually she's right next to me in a different computer, but I'm gonna have her introduce herself.
Lori? Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Laura. I go by Lori Kerr. I'm a mental health advocate with the Department of Mental Health Peer Resource Center, where I provide community members with linkage and warm handoffs to community organizations. I also facilitate the work readiness workshops every Thursday here at the PRC, where I teach individuals to transition from social service job ready to business service job ready. I have over 15 years experience in career workforce development and have been a vendor for Regional Center, Department of Rehabilitation, Ticket to Work coordinator with Social Security Administration, always assisting individuals with multiple barriers in returning to the workforce. Before coming to the PRC, I became an offender workforce development specialist through the National Institute of Corrections. I've taught work readiness at Glendale Community College to individuals with autism spectrum. I've taught work readiness also at Cloud and Fire Charter School for transitional youth ages 18 to 24. I am a current board member of New Hope. It's a nonprofit organization providing workforce and development and job placement, assisting individuals who are risk at youth, individuals with disabilities. And I also just retired as the lead case manager for SPA 7, 6, and 8 from the American Red Cross after 25 years of volunteering.
All right, thank you, Lori.
So I'm gonna do a little bit brief presentation of Peer Resource Center. So I'm gonna share a screen. Give me one sec. There we go. So this is a presentation that Catherine Clay, one of our community health worker, and I developed together. And then we take this presentation to the different places and have done presentation together. So it's gonna upload to your computer really soon. Okay. Give me one sec. Okay, there you go. Can everybody see the screen? Okay, good. So this is basically a picture of our staff, and the gentleman, okay, the gentleman to the all the way to the left is our program manager, Scott Hanada. He's actually joining this presentation, watching us to do the good job. Anyway, these are our staffing. You can see Lori in the middle, Charles and Catherine, Joseph, David, and myself here, and Susanna. Actually, I'm the one who's taking the picture, so I don't think you can see me. Peer Resource Center, our mission is basically everybody lives with something. That's something that we try to do with everyone who visits this Peer Resource Center. And we have this little logo that we developed together, and it says PRC with a heart, with love. And the motto is heart forward, because we want to be passionate people, helping people, whoever comes and walk into this center. Our team, so this is how our team is made of. We have the big boss is Carrie Myrick. She is a discipline chief of peer and allied health professions in DMH. So she's our big boss overseeing all the operation here. And we have a program manager, Mr. Scott Hanada. He's a mental health clinical program manager 3 at DMH. And my name is Ju Eric Lee once again. I'm a team supervisor here at the PRC. And we have Catherine Clay. She is our housing and health navigator. And we have Mr. Eulos Charles Miller, who is also a housing and health navigator. And we have Lori Kerr, who's doing this presentation together with me. She is handling our employment issues. So she is the employment specialist here at the PRC. And we have Mr. Joseph Cuevas, who is in charge of our art and recreational activities. So he's the art and recreation specialist. And we have Mr. David Snell, who is also in charge of computer and computer classes and all that. So basically PRC, all our staff, we have lived experience and knowledge in various resources in the community. And on top of the PRC team, we have our WOW volunteers, the program that we coordinate with lived experience coming in and assisting us as well. So that's our team. And PRC opened up in May 1st, 2017, and you can see our director, Dr. Shirin, and our board of supervisors, and many other community members coming in and to celebrating that event. It was a really wonderful event on that day. And this is our current layout. The picture on your left of the screen is the entrance, and all those handprints are done by our visitors. So we had a little day where people can come in and then kind of like put their hands on the paint, and then Joseph and other people who's in charge of art was in there. We allowed the community members to choose the color of the paint and all that. So there's a little bit of decoration. We always want to kind of create a welcoming environment. So that's a part of the project that we did for that purpose. And in the middle, you see the long room. That is a place where we basically host different kind of community events. Outside agencies can also utilize this space. They can request to have their meetings there. So we have ongoing meetings and activities on that side. And one on the right, that is another smaller side of the PRC. You can probably see the computer stations there. We have open Wi-Fi that can be used by any visitors. And we have several laptops, 5 laptops and 1 stations and 1 library, Lake County Library computers that people can just come and use. There's no time limit. A lot of people just come to use the computer and charge their cell phones at the PRC. So this is our current layout. At Peer Resource Center, one of the goals is to form heart-forward connection with every visitors. So to do that, we have to create a comfortable, safe, and non-judgmental environment, right? So those are the 2 things that we try to do, and then there is one of the reasons why we really want to keep our peer support philosophy at the center. And so in a way, it's a good place where people can come and lounge and kind of become comfortable with the setting. But it doesn't mean that there's no purpose. This is actually a place. This is actually a place of clear intention and purpose, because the reason why we want to develop a positive connection with all visitors through peer support is, at the end of the day, we want to really become their friend, peer, that they can relate and trust. So we can hello? Oh yeah, so basically we wanted
to they're just kind of getting started, yeah. I mean, They had the introduction.
Could you
Yeah,
mute your mic?
What did David want?
Well, mainly he wanted
Oh.
else that I didn't respond to as ever. So there's stuff that I have to give PBS.
Hello, everyone. Could you?
Yeah, just like it was a nice chat, just like chatting about we finished.
Give me a sec. Thank you.
You know, now it's just on ice because all of the festivals aren't like South by Southwest canceled. You know, so like they have to just like wait maybe a year or something to sell the film. So they're just doing like research and development for the next project. And,
hello. Can everyone mute their mic? I think we're hearing somebody else's conversation here.
That's nice. That's cool. That's cool. And you didn't even have your ear pods in.
I did.
Oh, you did? Oh.
Did you see me talking? Did you see me?
You're very animated.
Was that?
You're way more animated than when we talk.
If you go to the participant.
Okay, I just did that. Okay, give me one sec. I'm so sorry, people. Okay. Yeah, so basically at the end of the day, our purpose, our goal is to connect everybody to the appropriate community services. So all the reason why we want to develop the positive connection is to become the trustworthy and referral source, basically. So we want to make sure that everyone lives with something at the end of the day. That's what we are trying to do at the PRC. So we have been providing different kind of linkage services to peers through the PRC. So as you can see, all visitors can be linked to below services, which are mental health services, physical health, food bank, clothing banks, and we do store some, we receive some clothing donations from different people, and we give out those clothing to people out there. And we do have some hygiene, I guess the packaging that we do, and then actually our third floor under Debbie, they donated a lot of hygiene items during the Christmas season, so we were able to give that out to the homeless visitors who are coming to the PRC. And then we also have a different community resource information where people can go and take shower and get new clothing and things like that. And we connect people to housing services. We do have people from PATH, Homeless Healthcare, LASA continuously coming in, including our home team, making routine visits to make the linkage, to meet their clients and to identify new people. So we are ongoingly having their visits. And we do have a temporary shelter referrals, and we link them to different kind of benefits, legal services, education and job training, and also, of course, the volunteer and employment opportunities out there. And one thing that I want to highlight is that the PRC has become a winter shelter pickup site. So one of the winter shelter site, Home at Last, they come to PRC every day, Monday through Sunday, between 3:30 and 4 o'clock to pick up people to go to the winter shelter. And I believe with this coronavirus situation, the winter shelter will be extended through the April. So basically the people a lot of time come and lounge inside of the PRC and then waiting to be picked up by the van to go to the winter shelter. So that's what we have been doing since November. And then inside of the activities, inside of the PRC, we do have various activities that we do. As you can see, we have a chess, jewelry group, job club, barbershop, which is a men's group, and art group, guitar lessons, singing and healing, which is a karaoke session. We have a big screen. Yeah, we have wireless mics and sound system so people can come and sing and have fun. We do have different NAMI groups going on here. Of course, poetry, creative writing, different social events and cultural events are hosted at the PRC. And also like different people, we actually like host different community events that are open to anyone. So so recently we had an end of year celebration in December. That's not recent anymore. And then New Year kickoff. So basically on the day of the Super Bowl, we opened the PRC until the late night so that people can come in and watch Super Bowl all together. We had a great food and games, and we just had a great time together. And every fourth Saturday, the PRC is open, the business as usual. So we have been opening up PRC on Saturdays. It's kind of like a test run to see how the community kind of feel about that. But we have been getting a good amount of visitors on Saturdays as well. And then people asking if we can open up a little bit more too. So anyway, the Super Bowl was on Sunday, but we're open to host that event. And we had we did have a various community events. So we had our own Homeless Connect Every Connect Day. We hosted May Mental Health Halloween event. And you can see, we just had many different kind of community events at the PRC, having really great time with people. And also we went out to the community to their events and resource fairs. So such as like just kind of any kind of resource tables. We went out there to set resource tables at different community fairs and events. And Board of Supervisors, when they have an Empowerment Congress, we sent out like a different staff, like Catherine Clay, one of our housing navigator, went out there many times to help out the tables. And other staff also went there as well. And a couple Christmas ago, we went to IMD, the Institution for Mental Disease, the long-term, basically the hospital, to share our Christmas gift and other things with them. And these are so PRC started with the WOW volunteers and team. So these are the PRC. Basically, when PRC opened up, we didn't have any TMH staff working there. So it was actually the WOW volunteers who came in and then helped us to really start. And many of the WOW volunteers who helped out at the time actually has become TMH employees, like community health workers to mental health advocates. So they are working together with us right now. And so, yeah, so and then we still maintain this ongoing partnership with the WOW volunteers. So we have many volunteers coming in every day. We got 5 to 6 volunteers now at the PRC. They're coming every day, sharing their resources, ideas, and expertise to basically make PRC a better place. And this is one of the, basically it's a picture that shows that we are not just about, we are really about creating the welcoming and kind of having fun and trying to make connection with everybody. So this is a little silly picture, but you know, we are happy that we are here. I want to just share a little bit of stat and averages. In 2017, as you can see, September, October, November, December, on average, we had about 130 visitors per month. In 2018, we had about 181 visitors per month. But in 2019, we are actually averaging about 47 visitors a day. So if you really count that, the whole month, we are having about 1,000 visitors a month. And we identified about 46% of them are homeless. Yeah, and yeah, so I think it kind of shows that how PRC has been growing over 3 years. And so this is our director at DMH, Dr. Shireen, and WOW volunteers and PRC staff. So this is who we are, and that's the end of this presentation about the PRC. Okay, so let me go back to the screen. So now Lori and I, we're gonna have a little bit of a dialogue, asking questions about our own experience working at the PRC, as a peer workforces. So I'm gonna ask Lori some questions. Lori will be asking me some questions, and you guys are more than welcome to post your questions through the chat or just raise your hand, and then we'll try to answer your questions as well. So Lori, let me ask you this question. You still have to yeah. So Lori, what have been what have been some challenges you saw for peer workers working as a mental health advocate in mental health services?
Well, a lot has changed since we have Karis Merrick, the Chief of Discipline of Peers and Allied Health Professions. When she began the peer movement within here at Department of Mental Health. However, when I first started the Peer Resource Center, the department had just began to make changes by supporting the peers within its system. There was much hope because good changes were coming down the pipeline. But during the meantime, peers had to support each other by forming our own alliances. What I learned was that cliques within the workplace sometimes happen and are unavoidable. However, having cliques without well-structured supervision, leadership result in lack of collaboration, disorganized services, and of course, always affect team spirit.
And can you share some example of that experience?
For example, some time ago at the Peer Resource Center, we were not able to make decisions on important issues because different groups within the team could not come to an agreement due to divide. Such situation can improve when there is a supervisor who first makes conscious efforts to bring the group together through dialogue, making decisions based on objective evidences rather than trying to please everyone and execute decision consistently. So,
Are people having some issue with echo?
Yes, we're hearing an echo.
Okay, see, let me try to kind of take care of that. Are you still hearing echo?
No.
Not quite as much.
Okay, I see.
It's
That's
because
still
you and
there.
Lori are in the same place, right?
Right. I think probably that's
So one of you has to be on mute when the other's talking. You both have, you can't both be unmuted at the same time.
right. Okay, so, all right. So let me just continue with the question and then see if the echo situation happens. So
go ahead and unmute. So, Eric, I think that you can also share what you did in order to promote teamwork and collaboration here within the PRC team.
yeah, so I think you need to unmute. Sorry about that. I think bringing together peers with diverse background and experience, it's really challenging. But then, so yeah, having ongoing dialogues and trying to reduce differences in opinions is really important. And then it brings the team together. But in my opinion, it's more important to identify a vision and purpose that we can all strive together. Because when we develop a vision and purpose that we share together, it naturally leads us to work together. That's how I think. So one thing that I truly respect about our peers at PRC is that they are really committed in making other peers' life better. So my approach in the beginning was to bring our focus away from our differences and to helping peers in the best way each of us knew how. So one of the examples is like when I first came in, I noticed that each PRC staff had a different gift, strength, passion, and interest in helping peers. And I mean, they all wanted to help peers, but they wanted to do it in a different ways and different means. So for example, Lori, your passion, talent, skill, and experience that told me that you wanted to help peers with employment issues. And Catherine and Charles, they wanted to help peers with housing issues. And Joseph wanted to use art and recreational activities to help other peers. So instead of trying to create a homogeneous group where everybody help peers in the same way, I decided to respect and utilize each person's unique vocational and or personal formation. So we created a team that worked towards a common goal, which was to improve peers' quality of life. So whoever walks into this place, we make sure that they will leave with something, therefore like improving their quality of life, but through our own unique and special means. So I think that when we start to do that, we begin to respect each other's specialty, skill set, passion, and interest better. And inevitably, I think it improved our workflow because everybody kind of understood when people came with a different needs, who should be talking to the person primarily and all that. And then therefore, like it improved our structure, system, and teamwork within the PRC. I think that's what happened. So Lori, now let's talk about a few more challenges you experience working as a mental health advocate, because I know there's a little more than one, okay? So what are some other challenges you experience? Can you share?
Absolutely. So next, the challenge is that there is much discrepancy of work readiness between peers. Even though peer certification is great, it's a great training, which peers should definitely take. Completing the training does not automatically make you work ready. There are many other job-related skills that an individual must develop on top of the certification. I have seen my colleagues, including myself, struggle at our workplaces, not because of lack of peer support skills, but because we did not have sufficient training and experience in job skills, such as computer, documentation, customer service, and even gathering resources here at the Peer Resource Center. Sometimes it is a simple but difficult thing as coming to work on time. We have an understanding of peer support and are great at making connections with people in need of help. However, above all, job-related skills are also an important part of our profession, and it's difficult to get around them. It's going to be there everywhere you go. Lastly, I sometimes feel like peers get treated differently by other colleagues based on the degree or certifications that they hold. I have been asked several times, what's your position? When I tell them I'm a mental health advocate, I feel that they have some difficulty in relating to me as a colleague. Maybe it's because the position is entry level. However, the title does not fully describe my experience, my skill set, or who I am as a professional. I learned to respond that I'm a mental health advocate and my scope of practice is workforce development. I emphasize on my scope of practice because it highlights my actual expertise and work experience rather than just being a peer. In fact, I'm a hardworking and skillful professional with lived experience. So I make sure that people get to know me as a professional. I think that it is very important for all peers to advocate for themselves by informing other colleagues about their professional knowledge, experiences, as it is appropriate. I feel that also just letting the title peer being the only focus of our careers is not the fairest measure that people should apply to us.
I see. So it's like you're encouraging other peers to advocate for themselves. Yes, the peer support and peer certification is a very important job skill.
Absolutely.
But do not let that, like there are more skill sets, experience, and knowledge that they bring to the workplaces, and then they should also lay them out as well. So I think that's a good point. Thank you. So then what has helped you to overcome or deal with these challenges? What parts of supervision that helped you, to deal with these challenges? What are those things?
Or you have to unmute yourself.
Unmute. We can't hear you. You need to unmute.
Got it. All right, I'm unmuted. Thank you. So, going back to how I act or react and being accountable for my own work performance has helped me a lot. It helped me to minimize judgment and expectations of others. I often have to remind myself that everybody is different and unique. Therefore, we all have different starting points in our peer professionals. Some individuals are coming to work after so many years, or some of them, this is their first job they've ever held.
Okay, but what about supervision? Like what helped?
The supervision part that helped me with the challenges was the increased access and frequency of individual supervision. I look forward to my weekly supervisions with you. By the supervision being able to be accessible, it became important because it enabled reciprocal learning, the sharing of common experiences, and understanding of workforce place and self-assessment. I For me, the self-assessment part is something that I do often. You know, I reflect on my workday, and I think of the changes I could have made on certain situations. But I'm able to handle most work stresses on my own. However, there are sometimes when the situation occurs that it's very overwhelming. You know, as a professional, I talk to myself and I say, suck it up and continue to work. Also, the stigma of mental health issues discouraged me from seeking some type of assistance or help in my workplace. However, I have direct access to a supervisor who understands lived experiences, its strengths and its weaknesses. So I feel much more comfortable seeking support that I can continue to perform without any fear. For example, there are times here at the PRC where visitors come agitated or display inappropriate behavior. Of course, I handle it as professionally as I can, but turning to my supervisor, during, before, or when the situation is occurring is reassuring. For me, it is important that I can freely go to my supervisor without any judgment. So, Eric, I think that you should mention something about supervisors' expectations toward peer workforce. I think supervisors' availability and accessibility have much to do with the expectations and respect that supervisors have towards their peer workforce.
Okay, I think you're right. There are many different ways that supervisors can communicate their respect for supervisors. But in my opinion, being available and accessible is one of the best ways to communicate the respect. Because naturally, I think we all make ourselves available and accessible to the people that we consider as important. And when we don't do that, that kind of implies that we don't really consider those people that important to us. So I don't mean that supervisors should be always accessible and always like ready to talk immediately with their staff because there's a schedule and things like that. But the important thing is that staff should feel welcomed and encouraged by the supervisors about approaching, consulting, and communicating issues with them. So it's kind of like having that open door policies. I think that in itself communicate the respect that supervisors have for the peer workforces. And I think there is a delicate balance that a supervisor should maintain in supervising peer workforces in terms of respect and expectation. Because a supervisor, they should not treat the peer professional merely as consumers or clients. But at the same time, supervisors should not disregard their lived experiences and struggles that they are currently going through. This is very, I think in my own personal experience, it's a very difficult balance to maintain, but I think it is possible. It requires a lot of patience and understanding and trying to understand from the supervisor side for the peers and on the peers, but it must be accompanied with a clear goals to develop and grow the peers as professionals. Because when the supervisors do not have that goal or expectation to cultivate the peer professional as the main service providers and the workforces, I think peers can be easily treated as kind of like para-professionals, and it kind of becomes very, I guess, it creates a difficult situation for all of us. So Lori, I know that having a clear goal, expectation, and structure is very important for you when you do your work. So can you mention something about that?
So for me, the first thing I do when I get it into a new position, is always ask for a directive. I like to understand what is expected of me, leaving very little room for error. It creates safety, assists members to maintain appropriate boundaries. I get a clear direction and expectations that are needed. I can also measure my progress and set goals to achieve such measurements.
Then what should a peer supervisor or supervisors who are supervising peers, what should they avoid while supervising peers?
Oh boy. I think supervisors' expectations on peers seem to be lower than others. Supervisors who have low expectation for peers tend to blame or shame peers who are struggling with their work. There are implications like they're just mental health advocates. What else can I expect? They would give us work assignments, but would not spend enough time to provide guidance, cultivate work skills, and teamwork among other peers. They were busy, but I felt like they had low expectations, therefore low interest in working and developing peers. Simply stated, they are not as available and accessible to peers as to work for other workforces. The supervision part, and I keep emphasizing, to me, this is for me something that's very important and critical, was it helped me increase access, frequency of supervision, that reciprocal learning through the sharing of experiences in the workplace, and continued responsibility for the self-assessment. And I continue to, suggest to the peers to not only advocate, but self-assess, how you're doing in that workplace. So, Eric, it sounds like having the right level of expectation and an understanding is very important. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. I think in any work setting, there will be problems and challenges, and it doesn't really matter if you are a peer or not, because that problems and challenges at work is inevitable and they're always there. But I think supervisors who have low expectation for peers or any supervisors, they will I try to minimize or avoid the problem rather than using that problems and issues as a learning experience. So meaning that I avoid trying to guide peers to go through it with my guidance or each other's guidance. So mental health professional, by their nature and training, I think they are, I'm talking about myself, okay? Better at supporting and doing things for peers, right? But it can really impede their growth as professionals. Because focusing on strength does not mean ignoring problems. But I think it means that it means that the supervision frames problems as learning opportunities. So I think we need supervisors who recognize and respect the strength while using their struggles to improve their work skills as professionals. So when I first came to PRC, I had to also deal with my own anxiety and fear and desire to avoid the situation, right? Because like peers and then my supervisors were coming with different issues, and I had to kind of figure out what is the best way for me to handle the situation. And definitely my fear and anxiety was telling me, hey, just don't talk to them or like just don't make yourself too accessible because all these problems, there's like too many, and just give them the work assignment and just remove yourself from the situation. But so basically like what I'm trying to say is that I had my own struggle with my own fear and anxiety of working with peers because I did not have that much of experience in that sense. But at the same time, like when I start really taking courage and trying to really relate to peer workforces as my colleagues, I think that really helped me to put myself out there and start spending time with them. And actually I'm like down there at the PRC most of my time, my work hours. So, and we share the same place, it's the open space. We just sit at tables. So we are always constantly seeing each other. We have I think the quality of time always comes with the quantity of time. So I think I believe, in my opinion, that we are having a lot of quality times together because we are spending a lot of time together at the PRC doing the same work. So that's something that I want to address. So Lori, what should peers prepare, to be effective workforces in mental health field?
Well, peers who have been out of the workforce or have never worked should definitely prepare for a culture change. Give yourself time to absorb all the information without feeling overloaded by it. And it's something that's going to happen. You are going to feel overwhelmed. You are going to feel overloaded. You're going to be second guessing, should I quit? Should I just do a part-time job? always ask questions if anything is not clear. Develop your coping strategies that fit your needs. Check in with your support groups, your therapist, or someone you confide in. Build that safety net. What would you do if X happens? I've had work opportunities in various fields where I lacked the confidence and the experience. I wanted to self-advocate for myself, and I reached out to Department of Rehabilitation, where they were able to send me to trainings and even higher education, so I can develop those skills and qualifications that meet that the employer's needs, what they were looking for. And I think the individuals who feel that they're lacking those skills or the trainings should be proactive and look for things to assist them in. For me, now that I'm at the county, I use Udemy for Business. I'm not promoting it, but that's what works for me. I'm not very familiar with Excel. I'm not expected to do Excel, but as far as for me, for my goal that I set, I want to make sure I'm doing, just in case I get asked, being confident in knowing your work skills or even increasing them is very, very effective.
I mean, one thing that I want to say that I really do appreciate all the peers who are working for our Peer Resource Center. Charles, who brings such a great personality into our PRC, making everybody laugh and feel welcome. Catherine, who is a strong
Lori, please
advocate.
mute.
I'm sorry. Catherine, who's a strong advocate, she really knows how to advocate for each individual who needs help. And we have Joseph, who brings such a creativity, ideas for arts, and he's so great at creating the hands-on activities for our visitors. And we have Lori, who has a great experience in employment field. So she knows how to help people to be job ready, prepare their resumes, prepare their interviews. And Catherine and Lori together work together when DMH or other places were having a job fair, and they gather up all these wild volunteers together, did this long workshop. And of course, there are other people from our offices who came in and helped, but basically preparing our peer volunteers to prepare for the job fair, prepare for the job interviews, and also even after getting hired, many of them will call Lori, many will call Charles, Catherine, to ask questions about their own struggle working as peer in their settings, and then we are providing that kind of ongoing assistance to them too. So I really believe that all our peers have a great compassion, heart, and willingness to make a peer's life better. And I think the key is on acknowledging that they have great passion, and also through the peer certification and the training, they are being equipped on how to professionally channel that passion and the compassion into the service delivery, basically. And at the same time, if, like as Lori mentioned, if their peer support skill set is when equipped with other job-related skill set, I think it can be really powerful. So I am very hopeful about this whole entire movement, and I really encourage everybody to continue seeking the certification trainings. But then not only the peer certification, but there are many different trainings that are out there about housing services, housing navigator, right? Health navigators, and there are many different trainings that you can still obtain through different means. So I truly encourage you guys to do that. Okay, now I think we can move into Q&A, and there are some questions that are coming in. So one question that I have is, let me see. Can you describe a typical supervision session? Do you have a structure? Yeah, so basically, so in a way, I think a lot of issues are handle immediately because I'm down there. So it's, again, as you saw, the PRC layout is open space, so people can just come to me at any given time. So every little, basically like a supervision happens all the time. People can come to me and then I can go to them, and then we are constantly talking and communicating about it. But I try to set, because the PRC has become more busier. But then every week we have about 45 minutes to an hour individual supervision session. And then we have to kind of change that time because we are not, PRC is not based on the appointment system. So people are constantly just walking in. So sometimes it's hard for us to keep that set time, but I do my best to meet with them individually for a 45 minutes to an hour. And I do basically ask them, you know, it's like how everything is going in terms of your work. And I focus on that individual, the task that the person is handling. And then after that is done, then I ask about the relationship or the interaction that person is having with other coworkers. And then after talking about that, I also talk about the interaction with the community. So it's kind of like three parts. So it's about that a person in front of me, and then the person's work, individual task. And then I talk about the teamwork, that the relationship that the person is having with the other people, especially the staff. And then the last thing is that I talk about the person's experience with the visitors and other people. And every week we have a group team meeting / team supervision. So that's the time when we talk about all the planning, all the preparation for PRC. So every Tuesday from 9 to 11, we meet together for 2 hours, and then we brainstorm different ideas. That's the time that we can kind of like talk about. It's very, I'll say very honest place, but safe also. So we come in and we just talk about many different issues, intense discussion at times, but at the end of the day, you know, like we handle them in a very respectful manner. So that's some of the structure that we have in terms of supervision. And let's see. Okay, what? 10:03 a.m. Let me go back there. Okay, tell it like it is. Thank you. So the question from Willie, thank you, is I feel I'm not accepted by my organization because I am so-called high functioning. Yes, I have a degree and take care of my family. I still struggle. Am I doing something wrong? Lori, do you have something to say first, or you want to mention something about that? And then I can.
Well, I felt that way. I been called high functioning as well. And for me, I felt that because I did not have the college degree and I didn't have all that, I felt less than, but I saw that by just focusing on my tasks, just, you know, and it's easier to say than doing it, by just focusing it and, you know, doing what you need to be doing. They have no reason to judge your professional portion of it. And that's what you really want to strive in. And again, it's difficult then doing it, you know, saying it and doing it. I don't think that you're doing anything wrong. I don't know your scope of practice, but just stick to it. Get, you know, I don't know your degree as well, but just hang in there. And I don't know if you have someone that you can talk to, or you can always come down to the Peer Resource Center, or you know, make some calls, you know, go ahead and call me. But find that network, find someone that you can talk to. And I find that by talking about it to someone else, remember how I told you about the sitting down and going, I like to go over like, you know, what could I change in throughout the day? As long as you continue doing your work, just focus on how your work performance.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a really great respect for all the peer workforces out there, including the ones who are working for PRC, because I consider them as pioneer. And well, I'm just a supervisor, so it's like I'm not a decision maker, and then I don't particularly consider myself as someone who can really change things in a great, I guess, greatly. But my encouragement will be for all the peer workforces: keep working, keep fighting your own battle, because I think the reason why it's tough for many of us is because we are just starting. We just started this movement. So for peers to be recognized as, I mean, of course, you know, it's like there are other work skills and all these things that needs to be developed. But, you know, I can't imagine what it will be like to be labeled or called as a high functioning when you're there to work. So, I mean, my heart goes out for you. But I think all these things, all this stigma and all these things will, I mean, as I mentioned, you know, when Carrie's our chief of peer and allied professional, health professional came, and I think one of the I guess, the change that we are experiencing is that culture change, right? It's not just giving a position. It's not just about like giving a job to peer. It's really about the culture change. You know, it's like making sure that there's a respectful environment. The peer having a lived experience, like, is actually being recognized as a strength and a special, unique skill set, rather than just being a consumer. So all these things, I think, it requires a huge culture change. So once again, you know, reason why all these struggles are there is because we are just at the beginning phase of it. But so if this is not a time that we lose our hope, I think it's a time that we still keep kind of putting our head down and kind of show up to the work and then do our best. I don't, at the same time,
So,
you know.
Drew, we're
Yes.
10 minutes over the time
Oh.
limit and 2 more questions, and the next one starts in 5 minutes. So can you
Okay.
please get to the questions are, what type of trainings do supervisors receive before, what sort of training you got? And also, can you describe how you handle disciplinary issues?
Well, I think for the disciplinary issues, I think there is a county has a clear policies and procedure. So sometimes you have to use that. But I think I think it's more about just considering peer as your colleague and your just supervisors. So sometimes having that lived experience put a supervisor to have a different lens when they so I don't think that we should treat peer workforces any differently than other supervisors. I think that communicate the respect, and that communicates the expectation that I have. And then it's a delicate dance, you know, but once again, you know, it's like using all the challenges and issues, the problems as a learning experience and opportunity to cultivate that a growth in a person, rather than using that as an opportunity to punish or retaliate. You know what I'm saying? You know, so seeing any challenges as a learning experience for both sides, I think that is the key. So that's what I can say about the disciplinary action. Just, yeah, and at the end of the day, you know, it's like there are a lot of anxiety that is there, you know, on both sides. I think that anxiety plays a lot of negative role in that interaction. So I think supervisor has to let that anxiety go and then start really respect the person, individual peers as an individual, as a real workforce. Yeah.
Drew, the last question was, what type of training did you receive to be a supervisor?
I received the IPS, intentional peer support. That was really eye-opening for me. So I encourage everybody to join in that IPS training. And I think I got a little bit lucky because I coordinated a WOW volunteers program for a few years with Susanna, who's another my supervisor, and then Scott Hanada, the program manager, has been running the program for a long time. So it's basically consumers with lived experience or their family members, you know, working as volunteers for DMH, and then it's a program that cultivates those volunteers. So working constantly with the volunteers, their family members, in many different ways, kind of equip me to be able to understand where they're coming from and what their needs are. So those, being a WOW volunteer, I guess, coordinator has really helped me to be prepared for the work that I'm doing right now. Hello?
Okay, so thank you, Ju, and Lori for a great presentation. And would everybody please start filling out their evaluation? And we need to get ready because the next people are coming. You can stay in this room or you can move to another room. Check out your program. Thank you all.